Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is This Morning on ITV. Like I said earlier on, it's all about security concern because of the fast approaching 2023 general elections. Nigerians are beginning to be concerned. Abuja seems to be the hotspot right now. You get to hear also about what is happening in the southeast. With me here in the studio to talk about this, I have a political analyst, a politician, entrepreneur, one-time vice chairman, and of course, a one-time acting chairman of a local government. Join me to welcome Honorable Desmond Ubo. Welcome to TMI Tuesday's edition.
Good morning,
I appreciate your coming.
Good morning,
right. As well close to him, he is a legal practitioner, human rights activist, political affairs commentator. Join me to welcome Barrister Matthias Obayowana. Welcome to TMI Tuesday's edition.
Thank you, Lucy.
All right.
Good morning, viewers.
From what is really happening, we'll talk about security. May perhaps divergent views and opinion about this particular aspect in our country this time around. And 2023 is fast approaching. Let me start off with you, Honorable Desmond Ubo. As a politician, what do you feel about this situation?
Thank you very much. You know, in this country, Nigeria, this is not the first time we are preparing for election. I recall that this insecurity that is taking everybody seriously, negatively, started over 13 years ago when the Boko Haram insurgency started. And if you watch carefully, since the past 13 years ago, Nigeria have been conducting elections. And there is one thing that is common, that is cultural about our elections. In every elections, you see these insurgencies, bandits, or whatever name you call them, terrorists or kidnappers, always shoot their sword during the election period. Prior to the Anambra governorship election we saw in this country, when the eastern part of the country was like a war zone. But all the apprehensions as to whether the election will hold, whether there will be more casualties as regard the threat and all that, were abated. I know that Nigeria is no longer as it were before, because the insecurity is telling much on our economy, is also telling much of our livelihood, because farmers no longer go to the farm. Travelers are also very apprehensive, plying the road, and businessmen are also very weary as to whether they will go and come back. All these are the failure of the security architecture of our country. Very recently, the president called the service chiefs for a brief regarding what just happened in Kaduna State. What is happening in Kaduna State recently will remind you of how the Boko Haram started. You know, they keep changing tactics from bombing to kidnapping, to clashes between herdsmen and farmers and the rest. So all these are pointed to the fact that the recent meeting between the service security service chiefs and the president for a time now has nothing to record as in success, because it is not about calling the service chiefs to brief you what is happening. What has been the result they have been showing from all the past briefings? Because at the time Nigeria keep saying that yes, it is because it appears that the former service chiefs are known by the bandits, or rather they know the terrain and their faces are familiar. There is every need to inject new hands with new tactics to fight this insecurity headlong. The same thing is still reoccurring. What is now the problem? What is really the problem with the security architecture of our country? How come an insurgency, insecurity that started for over 13 years ago and is still lingering. That goes to show that we need to change the entire security system. Changes the entire security system. At the time, you saw the various states also agitating for local policing, and that gave birth to the vigilante network that we have in this part of the country, and how we have been faring, how far they have gone policing the locality. To you should know that they have tried their best. The problem we have is that there are certain particular set of people in the country that are fomenting this trouble, that are perpetuating this insecurity, and it now behoves on the federal government and the security chiefs to nip their nefarious activities and their overbearing influence on insecurity in the bud.
I'll come back to you, Honorable. Well, Barrister Matthias, you heard him. He talked about the president calling for a meeting. This isn't the first time he's calling for a meeting of the service chiefs. This isn't the first time Mr. President giving a marching order for them to do one or two things to make sure that they quell the situation. But the situation is persisting, and we have an election around the corner. What are your views on this?
Well, it's quite pathetic. For me, the whole thing appears to be politically motivated.
Politically motivated?
Yes. Now, this threat of banditry or terrorism, all of that, if you look at it historically, days back, it became more prominent during the tenure of President Jonathan, where President Buhari had made effort to emerge as the Nigerian president. Severally failed. I was put to have made a statement that he would make the country ungovernable if by any reason it does not emerge. And not so long after that, the election was conducted. Whatever happened, and the incumbent for the first time, in a very long history of this country, lost. And in losing that election, President Jonathan has already sensed the underlying factors, the threat, the Boko Haram insurgency that already erupted, build up to that election, and the threat that was made that should there not, emerge, certain things will happen. He made a comment to say, look, his ambition to become a Nigerian president is not worth the blood of any single Nigerian. For the first time in history, he placed a call to President Buhari to say, look, congratulations, you have won. But unfortunately, just as they always do in politics, when it comes to a political era like this, they will arm their thugs. Some will snatch the ballot box, some will make some areas ungovernable, areas of strength of their opponent, they want to weaken it by violence and all of that. So people are being armed. And then again, I'm sure they couldn't meet up again. So for those who are being armed, those arms were not retrieved, and they put it to good use. So good use with their own advantage with the detriment of the country. That is where we find ourselves. Now it has become uncontrollable. Coupled with the jihadist agenda, because President Buhari has not hidden his passion for colonization of this country.
Well, he never said that.
Or Islamization of this country.
He never said that.
He has beat his chest. He has been very proud.
He never said that.
He's a very proud Fulani man. And he has told us, even when he was querying, when Nigerians were making complaint, that why are you creating a railway from Nigeria to neighboring Niger? And they said we have his own relations there. And Fulani is one all over the world. So why will you not make a pathway between Nigeria and the neighboring countries? But again, you don't just invest in taxpayers' money to create a connection between Nigeria and Niger just because you have relations in that place. It should have been for international trade, advantage. So what do Nigerians stand to gain from the railway line you have created from Nigeria to Niger? Other than you have some relations in that place, that's why you are doing what you are doing. So as you are serving Nigeria, you are also serving your relations wherever they are all over the world. And so these relations, you have opened the floodgate to come. There's food here to eat in this country. You have created a railway, you have created a room for you to come. So they have all come in here, and they come with their cows, and they say they are doing a nomadic heading. And in the process, you go to people's farms, you attack them, and then when they cry out, you say it's is herders and farmers clash. How can there be a clash? I have a farm, my farm product does not run from one place to the other. You came from far away, wherever you came from. You brought your cows to my farm armed to the teeth. You've eaten off my farm produce and raised an allowance. Why are you doing what you are doing? You use your gun to mow me. There's no other one. You have not seen the reverse. You see it's a clash. The farmers would have also maybe attacked their cows, perhaps poison the cow to die or dump into the cow to soak it. For that reason, you attack, then there will be a clash. People are harmless. You come into that place to attack them, you sack them for the community, and you take over. And then the government will call it a farmers' herders clash. So the bottom line will always be there that these are my people. Allow them room. Even when people, our Governor Kedulu, in neighboring state, made a comment that people should be, Fulani herdsmen should leave the forest. If you want to do any business, come to town, let us see what we are doing. Leave those forests, leave those bushes. You can find the AG Federation, also a Fulani man, quickly coming up to their aid to say, look, why are you telling them to leave the forest? They can stay anywhere they like. If you are doing your business, let us see, let us know what you are doing, because when they kidnap people, they take them to the bushes. So all of these things have been happening. The political agenda and the Islamic agenda and the agenda to Fulanize the country.
Well, I'll take an exception to that, because they never agreed to that. They never said they want to Fulanize the country.
The body language is clear.
Let's not go into body language, because sometimes your interpretation of body language is wrong.
Let me tell you one thing.
Yes.
It was General Sani Abacha of blessed memory that was reported to have said that should banditry or terrorism or insurgency last more than 24 hours, the presidency or the government is involved. You cannot tell us that the Nigerian army, as equipped as we are, when they go out there to go and engage international security, they always win award.
All right.
That they cannot fight on their own soil to remove this rebellion. Okay. That is why you find Erufai telling you, oh, if they cannot stop this, they want to go and import. Import
mercenaries to
come and help us to fight.
We'll come to
these
that.
Mercenaries, you brought them in to help you win an election. Now you cannot control them. You want to bring in more mercenaries to flush out the one that you have brought.
We'll come back to that.
Where can there be peace? The railway stations are being burned by the day. Airports are being attacked. The road are not safe. So where is even your home? We had a senator, in the National Assembly talking about it. Even their chamber, they can come and pick them there. All right, your home, your school, wherever. Nobody is safe anywhere.
I will come to you.
So must put right now. Like he said, nip it in the bud.
Thank you.
And we must have a political will to do that.
Thank you. I would definitely come back to, but I want to sound a note of, I don't want to call it warning caution, because I wouldn't want to ascribe this terrorist attack or security challenge a particular tribe.
We know they are.
We have to follow
everybody that's been attacked. They've always told you, look at the people that attacked me.
Barrister Matthias, we know the rules and regulation of the area.
I know.
Let's play by the rules.
Yeah, they try to censor Nigerians.
Let's play by the rules. Thank you.
And say, don't mention the name that we know who they are.
I will come back to you, Barrister.
At the point they say they call them or no government.
Let's play by the rules.
Like
Let's play by the rules. Honorable Desmond Ubo, you heard him. People like saying that it's like the tempo of this attack is increasing.
Yes, on a daily basis.
So the question now is, why now?
Well, there hasn't been any time that the tempo hasn't increased. It goes up and comes down. And whenever you talk about insecurity in this country, emotions are very high. You don't blame people who are emotional about it. And that we are very careful, because we are on air, not to mention certain names.
Yeah.
Doesn't take it from those who are watching and listening to us that they don't know those who are perpetrating the harm. So it is because, yes, election timetable has been released. Political activities are warming up, and they are growing every day. And people begin to ascribe what is happening to politics. But like I said before, the beauty of democracy is that you have people involving and participating in it. With the way we are going now with this spat of insecurity, the election cannot be credible if people who ought to go to the field and vote refuse to go because of fear of the unknown. Because on that day, you will see people sitting down at home believing that the vote they voted before did not even tell anything about their life. It is better you stay alive to endure the hardship than to go there and don't come back. So I think every corner, this set of people have invaded our privacy. In Edo State today, you heard recently before the Christmas how about 3 or 4 communities in Ovia Northeast were sacked by herders. And we still have a representative in any arm of government representing these people. And we were told at the time that the government of the state has instructed or mandated about 120 security men to go there. Still on that speculation, I call it, that last 2 weeks Sunday now, that a relative of mine was butchered by these herders in his farm.
Please, let's watch the word coloration, please, be on air.
That is the best I can describe it.
Well, you can use the word killed.
Okay, can we say
let's not paint
it
it
was
out
macheted or
because we're on
it
air.
was murdered?
You know the rules. Honorable, please, let's go back.
And now, people are now very afraid to go to the farm. Not that the government is subsidizing the food stock in the market. Not that there is any welfare package for the citizen.
Yeah.
The only thing we start to gain is to be allowed to go to the farm and make things out of for our living. And the government are still not helping in that direction. When you are elected into any office, the oath you take is to protect lives and property. Lives are being taken, properties are being destroyed. The same people who take the oath are just working, they are looking akimbo. So how best do you describe a government that has refused, let me not use the word fail, to do the needful? I think ahead of these general elections, certain things will happen. One, those in IDP certainly are going to be disenfranchised. Those that will be sacked now relocated to IDP or relocated to either relative home or different location. Because I know in Okokwo village in Ovia Northeast, last week, Tuesday, the Boko Haram, following the killing of one of them, sacked many residents. Many are now living in Benin. You can imagine there will be no famine in that area this year. And when there is no famine, what will happen? Then you can see that those who ought to have votes in that area will no longer vote. And once one is deprived from voting or performing your inalienable right, that election itself will not be said to be credible.
All right.
Because certain emergency has prevented you from voting. Now, in line with section 24, subsection 1 of Electoral Act as amended, give the INEC the power to register such a people in wherever location they find themselves as a result of emergency. How can we do this now? Even the 2,763 units that the INEC is currently carrying out their continuous voter registration exercise, how many people are willing to go and register?
Good question. I'll come back to you.
Because the security situation of our country is not encouraging it.
All right. Now, Barrister Matthias, you heard talking about sacking of some communities. The north, they're having their fair share. In the south, they're having a fair share. It's like all over the country. You get to hear about one form of attack or the other, but recently it's like Kaduna seems to be the hot spot. With all this displacement, do you see the outcome of the election being free, fair, and of course credible?
Well, one funny thing, or sad thing about the whole political arrangement is that by the time election is conducted, they tend to look at you having a, constitutional mandate to have at least a 2/3, of all the states of the country put together. you know, having simple majority vote and also having, you know, simple majority of all of the areas. So what they're concerned to be simple majority, they are not looking at the number of persons that are registered to vote. They are looking at those who turn out to vote. So if there's voters apathy, if you have only 2 persons there, okay, fine, those 2 persons will be counted to be those who have voted. Now, when you have voters apathy, that is where you now find the opportunity of those who are engaged in rigging to be able to put in some illegal ballots and say they have. During that election between President Buhari and Jonathan,
Yeah.
we saw that 8 people voting in the north, you know, and certain persons, this Rubebe, you know, from Delta will raising his own concern. And look, this vote that is coming out from Kano, all those other areas, they have been bloated and all of that. You know, nobody listened to him. The result have been collated, they have been brought. If you like screaming, go to tribunal.
But right now, many of them have been displaced.
You know, yeah, they have been displaced. They are not displaced, even in Borno, where what do you call it? It is Zamfara, right?
Yeah.
You know, where they have their Sambisa forest.
Sambisa forest, Borno State. Borno State.
Now, the vote not emanate from that area during the election, President Jonathan and Buhari. Despite that the people were displaced, they still find a way of sending figures in. So one way or the other, figures will come in. Because I know that the electoral act that have been put in place is meant to check some of these issues that have been happening in the past.
In the past.
To say, well, if you vote, they should transmit the result electronically to whoever has voted. If you have a petition of the political parties present, as you are voting, it should be transmitted electronically to INEC. So the idea of going to change figures may not be there. Let's hope that it will work. Let's hope that the network will not be down. And they will not say, because the network is down, we can no longer transmit, let's do it manually. Then the person moving from one point to the other point, 2 votes become 200 votes. 200 will become 2,000 votes. You know, anything can happen in the process. And once INEC has collected the result and has set, the winner will be declared. The person who has lost the election, you have an uphill task trying to prove to the tribunal that what came out was actually not what transpired. And if you check the statistics, those who are the underdog, those who are going to tribunal to come and battle this result, this INEC result, very slim chances, maybe less than 2%.
All right.
Less than
2%.
Yes. Okay. So the result of INEC is always pronounced to be the appropriate result. So anything can happen. So the insurgency or no insurgency, you know, they will see for a way of saying their result.
I'll come back to you.
We must try and make our election, you know, credible.
Okay.
You know, in such a way that vote truly will count. So if anything is displaced, let us see that the actual vote from the various constituency, you know, will be what we get to INEC. Don't tell us that server went down. There's no light to push it. Hence, we are using they are combining electronic and manual. In the process, the will happen, as you always say.
Honorable Desmond, you heard him. He said, whether you have insurgency here, people displaced there, the outcome will still be the outcome. Do you share his views and opinions?
Did you listen to me when I said that there will be election? Even during that election, all these bandits, terrorists, kidnappers will be settled. Is it not money they want? They will get their money. Nobody will be kidnapped. The election will hold peacefully. After election, if the incoming government did not know what to do, it will continue. So insecurity in this country, because if you take the history of our elections into consideration, you will discover that during election, that insecurity will subside. Election will go, then after the election, they will come back. Because, you know, during election, money will flow for both the good, the bad, and the ugly. And in that period, you see that everybody will go happy. There will be no quest to go and kidnap. So why can't you also make it a welfare that people who ordinarily are hungry have 1 or 2 packages from government? Because in most cases, what is pushing these people into crime, to kidnap, apart from this dastardly act of insurgency?
That is longer.
So it is different from, because if you combine all the criminality all together, you will discover that apart from the terrorists who are out to foster their agenda on the nation or the people, The others who take to kidnapping are doing it for livelihood. And that can easily be quelled by the security. Even there is no terrorist group that doesn't have leaders. Okay, we are talking about go and register your NIN. People kidnap, conversations are made. The network provider are not tracking anything.
You can't do anything.
I could recall when we started buying when this network came initially.
Yeah.
On top of your screen, you have the area location where you are, will come out. If you are in Oluku, you see it Oluku. If you are in New Benin. All these are certain good aspects of the telecommunication that those who are monitoring it can easily use to track wherever location these people are. And your conversation, and now people, you see, they are all recorded, they are there.
All right.
In advanced country, you see every hidden conversation is being brought by the network provider as a witness, as a testimony, as a proof to whatever crime they might have perpetrated. So in our time, the network provider or those who are monitoring them are not doing anything. They are aiding and abetting. Crime is on an increase every day, and yet you want this country to move forward. This system is not working. That is the problem.
The system is not working.
It's not working at all.
I'll come back to you, Honorable. Barrister Matthias, both of you alluded to the fact that if they can be nipped in the bud, so to speak, we have seeming peace. But yesterday, was it 2 days ago, former President Olusegun Obasanjo said this administration has been overwhelmed by the security situation. Though the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, came to debunk it, saying it's not true. Now, if you juxtapose these two gentlemen's speech on security, are we really overwhelmed as a country?
Is it not obvious we are overwhelmed?
I'm just asking the question. I don't know. You tell me.
It's obvious. You know, I expect Lai Mohammed to come and agree. It's obvious, even when there was lucky shooting and killing, did you not say that nothing happened? That CNN, they are liars and all of that. Did the proper not come out that it was killing? And you killing, yes, but just a few. You cannot call it a massacre. You know, but now you will find out that somebody went there, army went there and they shot some bullet and somebody was killed, whether one or two. Whether it's a massacre or not, but you deny and you say that nothing like that happened. So we all know his character and attitude based on his office. But a Minister of Information, you're not to misinform Nigerians to actually give all the true position. We all know that they are overwhelmed. It's obvious that they're overwhelmed. There are two things. If they also say they are not being overwhelmed, it may also be correct, but they are not being overwhelmed, because I believe very strongly that the security apparatus are not being overwhelmed. I believe. But in the face of it, as we are all seeing it, it appears that they are overwhelmed. There is a political inaction. The commander-in-chief is there. You know what to do, but you are not doing it. If you dare do it, if you dare move to that direction of getting it right, you will be removed. So if you just sit down there as a lame dog, pretend as you don't know what you are doing, let this thing happen. That is what I see going on. The Nigerian military and army, whatever security forces, they are not lame dogs. They are not that in this country. They are intelligent officers in this country. But they told them not to do, because according to General Bacha, like I said earlier, even when the security continues for 24 hours, the government is involved. Even if Jonathan's era, it was meant to say that there's Boko Haram in his government. So that people are there in government who are sponsoring this agent, they know what to do. Before they even go and attack or use a soldier, they would have given them the arrangement. If you move too much, there can be a contact. You can run into an ambush and be eliminated. They know what they are doing. So if you say that they are not being overwhelmed, yes, to my opinion, they are not being overwhelmed. They have the capacity, but they are refusing to do something. Okay. You know, but in the eyes of the ordinary Nigerians, we can say, oh, obviously they have been overwhelmed for what we are saying. But I believe that's the political inaction. Okay. So, like what they will be correct if it's not that they are not being overwhelmed, but they just refuse to do the right thing.
Over to you, Honorable Desmond. Did you hear him? He said it goes two ways. On one hand, yes, they have been overwhelmed. On the other hand, no, they are still the gallant soldiers we used to.
Exactly. It all depends on the way you are looking at it. The letter writing former president and
seriously, really letter writing.
Yes, it's lamenting now You know, in other former presidents, they have a way of advising the current president.
Yeah.
Because it is their own country. And the experience you gather as a former military head of state and as a former president, he has all the security know-how to advise. I know if he had advised, you know, he's fond of writing letter. If he had written letter to the president, he would have also made it known to the public that I've written this, because you don't need to make it public, because it's all about security matter. But however, we are tired of people like that criticizing government without telling them what to do. We need constructive criticism. As for Lai Mohammed, as the name implies, it's very unfortunate that as knowledgeable in the information industry as he is, he's not supposed to, by his age, to continue to feed the countries with misleading informations.
Yeah, but to him, his informations are correct. The information are right.
Remember, the very day that this insurgency bombed the train, he told Nigerians that Nigeria is getting safer by the day. And that the incident that happened, that no life was, everybody safe. But what now become the reality after the incident, after that statement? You see, if you are not respecting your office, respect your age. Because, you know, sometimes you see people in the corridor of power, those in authority, you that is upcoming, you try to emulate them. Can one say to be emulating such a person? You see, if you cannot say it to favor your master, say it the way that will favor your conscience and your generation. Because after all, power is transient. No position is permanent. So, if you say, yes, they didn't overwhelm, yes, he's right. Because perhaps they have one or two things that they are currently doing that they are not also reporting. I know all these insurgencies are equally being dealt with. But just recall recently when over 300 and something former, they call it former...
Repentant Boko Haram members.
Yes, repentant. How sure are you that these people have repented? And they were granted amnesty, properly trained, and they were taken care of. And they have been hushed into the society again. And they have networks of connection. They can give information. If you cannot do it, they can tell the other person to do it. All these are certain problems we have in our country that is making the insecurity ever increasing.
Well, gentlemen, we can just go on and on. We'll have other segment of today's edition of TMI. 1 minute each, gentlemen. 23 is fast approaching. Petitions are already, you know, going out to show interest, to campaign. Here we are facing security situation, security challenges. What advice do you have for the political class and, of course, for Nigerian citizens? Barrister Matthias, 1 minute.
Well, the political class should be up and doing and proactive and resist every attempt, you know, to try to extend the tenure of this government by creating high-level insecurity in such a way that it may make it impossible for a smooth transition. We must resist that by every means and ensure that election is conducted and there is a change of government, and let those who are truistic and patriotic enough to lead this country, you know, come on board. Let every Nigerian go and register to vote and ensure that we follow the process through and that the elections are credible.
Thank you so much, Barrister Matthias. Honorable Desmond, 1 minute.
The federal government should step up their game by properly instructing the security chiefs to evolve measures to tackle this insecurity and let it be visible so that it can encourage people to take active part in the politics. Then, even at the state level, this emergence of vigilante network, the state governors should please don't use them as a tool to perpetuate whoever you are supporting into power, because all these are also measures of insecurity. So let them do the right thing, because ordinarily police are not even allowed to go to voting center with arms. So they should be properly cautioned.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I know we have so much to really say about this, but we're still watching. Hope when I extend the invitation to you to talk about this particular issue, be really available to express your thoughts and, of course, your opinion on this particular topic. But some things like, you know, make me a little bit uneasy. Whether there's insecurity or not, you get to see figures emanating from various states and local government being sacked. I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk more on that. We'll talk more on that. You've heard them. The opinion, yes, it has nothing to do with ITV, but it's the best possible to follow rules and regulations governing the waves. Well, up next is Sir Dr. BJ Bry with the insurance segment. Don't go away.